breakfast just the way he likes it. Partying, probably with a nice Bloody Mary or something. Maybe a mimosa. He probably seems more like a mimosa guy. Sitting there in the morning. Might be one of those mornings over there in Cabo or Cancun or whatever resort destination he's at, where maybe he didn't even go to bed. He just kind of sat there by the fire all night, reminiscing and telling stories. You're like, hey, look, babe, the sun's coming up. Bartender, fill her back up. Let's just have some fun. No, I'm not jealous or anything. It sounds like he's living the life. But let me tell you what, though, Brenden, when you're filling in for him and you're doing all sorts of other stuff, because, over here at Rip City Radio, we play musical chairs, you get a little exhausted. I left this studio to go home and try to go to bed 10 hours ago. And here we are. How often have I been literally the last person to leave the building and then the first person to walk into it the next morning? Oh my goodness, it's quite crazy the things we do sometimes. It is funny though, Brenden, you missed this one because we were talking last night on the fifth quarter. Chad Doing called in, and we were talking about Draymond Green for a second. And Draymond, he's like, yeah, he's just hurting his teammates with everything he's doing out there. And I was like, you know what? So's Justin. Justin goes out here, and now we're doing musical chairs. We're doing 10 different gigs at one time. Justin is the Draymond of Rip City Radio, is what Chad said. And I just had to laugh at that. I mean, it cracked me up. Justin's really not. Justin's the best. But, man, as I said in the update, when it comes to sports, happy opening day, everybody. This should be an absolute national holiday. I love baseball. I'm excited that it's starting today. This darn show, though, Brenden, this darn show ruined my plans because I was looking at the schedule, and I was like, oh, okay, so tomorrow, for and for those of you who don't know, but tomorrow I'm going to be here again filling in the morning show. Then I also got to do a Blazer game, right? So tomorrow is going to be a long day. And if it wasn't for tomorrow being a long day, I almost bought tickets to opening day up in Seattle today. I was just going to be like, hey, babe, let's just get in the car. Let's go up, watch a Mariner game, come back down. But then I'm like, yeah, I won't be home till like 1 o'clock in the morning. And then I got to be at the studio at 5. So yeah, that's probably not the best idea to walk into a super long day of work, sleep deprived. So I voted myself out after talks with the voices in my head, and it was probably the better idea. But going to opening day, Brenden, and maybe for you too. I know you're a baseball cas, you said, but you're a sports guy. Going to opening day is on like my sports bucket list. Just opening day, party it up, baseball. Yeah, I went to a game in Minnesota a few years ago with the voice of the Trailblazers, Travis Demers. We were on a road trip for the Blazers. We went to a game in Minnesota on opening weekend, but it wasn't opening day. Okay, that's different. Going to opening weekend is not going to opening day and all the pomp and circumstance, right? And the pageantry around opening day. I need to get out to opening day. I do have a weekend here in a few weeks, my first free weekend where I don't have a Blazer game or OSAA championships to cover, that I was like, I think I'm going to try to get my wife out, maybe head down to San Francisco or Colorado, catch a Rockies game or a Giants game. Just baseball is the absolute best, man. Baseball is the absolute best. So happy opening day to those of you who celebrate. I know I'm one of them. Going to get that MLB network package so I can watch all of the action. And of course, too, the Mariners playing my Boston Red Sox, which would have been going to opening day even that much more fun. There is still a small chance that I get to go to Boston in June just and catch a Red Sox game at Fenway, which I've never done, Brenden. And that one's going to be, you want to see a grown man cry. Watch a Red Sox fan get to go to his very first Red Sox game in Boston. That'll be fun. But yes, today is opening day in Major League Baseball, and I do not count going and playing a game in South Korea a week and a half ago or whatever it was as opening day. I know that's what Major League Baseball is trying to do, and it's nothing against playing a game in South Korea. I love the fact that they play over there. South Korea's got a great baseball following. I love that they play the games in Tokyo because Japan has one of the best baseball leagues in the entire world. I love the Japanese baseball league, my brother lives in Japan. He brought me back some Hiroshima carp gear, so now that's my team. He just randomly picked it up for me. So there you go. I love it. I love that they go out there. I love that they expand the game. Just don't do it a week before opening day. Opening day is opening day. Don't pregame it. You can't have two teams open the season, Brenden, while everyone else is still playing spring training. That's dumb. That is dumb. I don't like it. Have it be opening day like today, but still you can still have the Dodgers and the A's or whoever you want to match up, play a game in Seoul or play a game in Tokyo, play a game in Mexico City, and wherever you want them to play, just have them play on opening day. Not opening pre-day. I don't get that nonsense. I don't like it. I'm a purist, maybe. Ay, ay, ay. I don't know, though. Baseball, man, it's great. It's great. So I'm just excited. I'm just excited for, we get the boys of summer are back. It also means Hillsboro Hops action's coming back to your home of the Blazers and Hillsboro Hops. Rip City Radio, 620. You ever get out to any of those Hops games?
Can't say that I do. Usually conflicts with Beaver baseball, and that's the baseball that I'm keeping tabs on.
Yeah,
no big deal. Number 2 in the country.
They suck. Go Ducks. Just kidding. I'm a
I was gonna say it's every other sport you got me, man. But
I'm a duck.
Not that one.
I'm a duck through and through, but you got to respect that baseball program. That's
but
for
yeah,
sure.
no, it's a great time. It's kind of interesting for that, Chris, because you're like opening day of baseball. I'm like, college baseball has been going on for about a month and a half now, so I feel like I've kind of fully been vested into baseball season from my perspective. So it's like, all right, the MLB's coming along, and excited to see. Like for me, I'm excited to see how the Orioles look this year. They're kind of my new adopted team with Adley and the crew starting to get good there in Baltimore. RIP to Baltimore for a different reason. Hope they get that bridge fixed, Chris.
Oh, my goodness, right?
I mentioned Baltimore. It's the only thing I can think of these days with Baltimore. But the Orioles, I'm excited to see how they play. Excited to see how the Mariners are this year, too, Chris. I think there's another team that I'm just really excited to see, how well they play, because I still think they've got a ton of potential.
Oh, they got a ton of potential, and they got one of the best young stars in the game in Julio Rodriguez, and hopefully he stays there a little bit longer than the last Rodriguez that was the face of their franchise.
Come on,
right?
Chris, you got to do that to the Mariner fans on a Thursday.
I do. I'm rooting for them to keep him. I like J-Rod. He's awesome. I liked A-Rod back in the day, too. I also loved Mariner fan throwing Monopoly money at him when he came back as a member of the Texas Rangers, which I will always remember that he left for Texas and signed one of the biggest deals the sports world had ever seen at the time, the 10-year, $250 million deal, which is just so funny that, that was big at the time because now, Shohei Ohtani darn near signed $1 billion deal. But it's interesting because in his press conference, he talked about, winning was important, and that's why he wanted to go to Texas. And then the very first year without Alex Rodriguez, the Mariners tied the record for most wins in a season.
Yeah.
And then lost to the Yankees in the playoffs. Good job. Good job, Seattle. Good job. But no, I'm with you. I think they're going to be a fun ball club, and it's going to be fun to see how Shohei looks in a Dodger uniform all season long. What did the Angels do? Because they still have one of the best players in baseball and have basically wasted his entire tenure in the league in Mike Trout. So baseball's here, though, man. I got to get out to games. I did promise my wife. I was like, yeah, we're not going to go to opening night, but we're going to get out to a game or two this year. Well, it's a quick drive up to Seattle. I said, or catch a Hops game. You say it conflicts with the Beavers, and that's fine, but you got to get out. It's still fun.
Yeah, I think they overlap into the summer. Because when do the Hops officially start?
They start in about a week. It's like April 4th.
So I know they usually go into the summer. So yeah, there's some opportunities there. But
well, they do too. They do now because they're not short season anymore. So they got the long season, and you get that sound that you don't hear very often though, because you get to go to Beaver games and cover those, and you still get the sound of an aluminum bat.
There's nothing better than postseason baseball, just in general. Like, I'm sure I've never been to an MLB postseason game, but I'm sure someone would say, yeah, it's superior, and I believe it. But, like, just postseason baseball is great.
Postseason anything's awesome.
Very true.
Go into a Stanley Cup playoff game. I know hockey is not the most popular of the sports. It's People don't even throw it in the big three, right? That's baseball, basketball, and football. Bro, hockey playoff games might be unmatched. Like that is an atmosphere that is incredible. Granted, I also got to go to I was lucky enough to be in Colorado at the time to go to an Avalanche playoff game, and Colorado, they love their hockey over there in Denver. Denver is a unique sports town, Brendan, because Denver has all the major sports, right? They have they have your baseball, they have your football, they have your basketball, they have hockey, they got soccer, they got everything. Yet that town, if you ask anyone, the three most important teams in that town are the Broncos, the Avs, and the Broncos. And if you ask them what the top five teams are in that town, it's the Broncos, the Avs, the Broncos, the Avs, and the Broncos again. Like they have all these pro sports teams, but it is a hockey and football town, man. Let me tell you what.
As their NBA team just won a championship, but no big deal.
Yeah, they also have one of the, unfortunately, one of the worst distributions in all of the RSN world, and like half the place, city of Denver, can't even watch the Nuggets play a game. So, one of my good friends and a podcast co-host of mine lives in Denver and gets completely irritated. He goes, "Hey, Burkhardt, how did the Nuggets do tonight? Because you don't live in Denver, so you probably actually got to watch them." Like that's how it goes. It's terrible. That's why you gotta get that package, baby. Get that league pass and then VPN it because we get stupid blackout restrictions like it's 1995 or something. Technology's dumb, Brendan. Super dumb. Hey, look at Brendan. You can teach an old dog new tricks. Is that bump music? Good job. Look at you. Oh, that music means one thing. It means it's time to take a quick break. When we come back, though, I want to dive into Major League Baseball, give a look at what I think is going to happen, how things are going to shake out, how bad are my Red Sox going to be. I'll tell you coming up on Rip City Mornings. Good morning, Rip City. Welcome back into Rip City Mornings. Chris Burkhardt here filling in for Justin Myers. You can follow me on Twitter or X or whatever you want to call it at Chris J. Burkhardt. You can also go to youtube.com, type in Rip City Radio. You can join the chat over there. There's also a telephone number, 503-248-0620. But Brendan's in charge of that, and I heard he hasn't paid the bill. So, the phone call might not go through. It's all on him. It's all on him. Nobody else. Nobody's fault but his. Got to have a fall guy. Chris Carter taught me that. Shohei Ohtani's learning that, all right? Got to have a fall guy. But we like Brenden around here. I've said his name like 20 times. It's like Beetlejuice. If I say it one more time, he's going to take over the show, and he's just going to randomly appear. Hey, guys, here we are. Camera's going to be on him, never going to be off. I did say, though, Brenden, there it is. See? Does he show up? Who knows? I love mornings, if you guys only knew. Blazers, they lost last night to the Atlanta Hawks, and Brenden wants to talk about that today. We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about Delano Banton. We're going to get mailbag. We still have Make or Miss today. And, of course, as I wrote in my notes, stupid Draymond. We're going to talk about stupid Draymond. It's like on Last Week Tonight with John Oliver for a while there. They had stupid Watergate. We're talking about stupid Draymond. But before we get there, Brenden, I want to talk about Major League Baseball. Get your thoughts on it. I know you're a baseball casual, but that doesn't mean you can't talk about the sport because we're going to have some fun. Again, Major League Baseball opening day today should be a national sports holiday like that. Like opening day, Super Bowl, these should all just be paid holidays, especially in the sports world. Like, you know what? Have some fun. But I want to talk about it and see how things are going to shake out because you now have 162 games ahead of us to figure out who's going to be the champs and how things are going to shake out. And I think there's some interesting storylines and some nice young players and things that I want to see in baseball this season. So let's start in my favorite division, the AL East, where my Boston Red Sox reside, where the Boston Red Sox were the worst team in the division last season, in a division that irritates me because, if Boston played in the AL Central, they would have been in second place. But no, here they are, dead last in the East. They finished 78 and 84 last year. Theo Epstein's back, so that's good. But other than that, I think it's going to be another rough year for my Red Sox. My Red Sox are annoying me. Everyone for the longest time hated the Yankees. I know they still do. But they're like, because George Steinbrenner, right? The evil empire, he was going to spend, Brenden. He was going to do whatever he did. They were going to get all the free agents. They're going to do this. And like the Red Sox lived in their shadow for the longest time, right? And then they started trying to get free agents. They tried to do this thing. And the Red Sox, now they're like, yeah, we got these really good players. Yeah, I think we're just going to eventually trade them to the Dodgers at some point.
The Sox let all their good players go after they won. Yeah,
rather than pay them, like, oh yeah, we got this MVP caliber guy in Mookie Betts. Oh gosh, we might have to pay him. Oh, we might have to pay. Yeah. Oh, I think we're just gonna ship you off instead, my guy. Yeah, we don't want to pay. Pay for your talent, man. Pay for your talent. It's really simple. That's what I want to see. The Yankees, they got Juan Soto now. They got a battering ram. They finished second to last, 82 and 80. I think they'll be improved. I still think, though, Brenden, and this is where you come in as the expert. I still think they won it last season. I think the AL East is Baltimore's to lose.
It's how you know baseball is baseball because it's quite ironic, Chris, that in the last 20 years, basically up until they got Adley Rutschman, Gunnar Henderson, a couple other guys, like the Orioles were what you expected them to be. The last place in the division with a couple powerhouses in the Yankees and the Red Sox. But it's great that this is all kind of flipped on its head because the Orioles built correctly. I believe they have new ownership now who is willing to spend, and that would kind of always been my biggest thing. Even when Adley got drafted there, is like, hey, this dude's going to be good enough to build a team around. Will they do it or will they go cheap? And so far, it looks like the Orioles have done a pretty good job of being like, hey, we got some real talent here. I think it's, they kind of got their postseason experience last year. I think they're going to be a tough out. Their pitching is a bit of a question from what I've been able to look and play a little bit in the show, Chris. But outside of that, I like the O's.
Yeah, and to your point about ownership and wanting to pay players, I mean, they did the same thing for a minute there that my Red Sox are doing right now, and that's like, oh man, Manny Machado is going to want money. Yeah, let's just trade him instead, and he'll sign a deal with the Padres, and let's get him out of here because yeah, this is a lot of money. That's a lot of money. Oh my gosh, just pay your players baseball. It's just ridiculous. I mean, I know you pay the top guys get good money, but keep your teams together. But you're right. Nice young team, nice young core. They're built really to be around forever. I don't think last year was a flash in the pan by any means. You look at the other teams in that division, like Tampa Bay and Toronto. Like Toronto's got some nice young talent. Tampa Bay has just been like this weird little dark horse for the last few years, where
Right.
they
Tampa
just keep
Bay's
playing
been
good
solid.
ball.
I'm curious your take, Chris. Where do you think, obviously, just as someone who watches more professional baseball than I do, where do you kind of rank Adley amongst catchers right now? And how, for someone who works for the OSAA, how cool does that continue to be that guy's just from right here in little old Sherwood, Oregon, man?
Hey man, that's awesome.
Not even so little, I should say, anymore.
Hey, you know what? I had to go to Linfield College a couple weeks ago for basketball tournament, and then to get to Linfield, you got to drive through Sherwood.
Sure do.
And I was like, oh my gosh, Sherwood has changed in the last day. I'm like, Sherwood, to me, growing up in Portland, right? You're like, Sherwood, that's out. That's the outskirts. That's the farmland, nice houses and stuff. But that's out there. You go there now, I'm like, no, it's a nice
traffic.
It's a beautiful little town now, and it's yeah, Fred Meyers and stuff. It's beautiful. And joking aside, I'm like, yeah, sure. Oh, and the high school, man, that's a nice little campus they got there.
They basically built a college for him, Chris.
Sherwood is a spot, dude. So shout out to the Bowmen.
I'm surprised it hasn't been renamed Rutschmanville yet. But
right?
Be that as it may. Yeah, all jokes aside.
But to answer your question, and this is not even through the lens of being a Northwest guy. Or, I mean, come on, you guys know me. I'm a Duck homer. I'm a Justin, right? I think Adley Rutschman's the best catcher in baseball. Like now that the old man Molina retired, right? Like pure like catcher, like a guy behind the plate, call a game, frame those pitches. Like Molina was money, dude.
Oh, totally,
he was really good. Like I would take probably old man Molina over young Rutschman just because how good he was. I think Rutschman is the best catcher, and I think it's an easy comparison to make, but like it's shades of prime Buster Posey with this guy.
I was gonna say Buster. Yeah.
Like, I like Adley Rutschman a lot. I got hosed on Twitter when he was drafted for saying that he's the type of guy that could be a first-year call-up, and I wasn't even joking. Like, it took him a minute to get up there, but that's the type of talent
and
he is.
COVID slowed down his progress a little bit, too, because, hey, I think he had 1 year at AA before, the world shut down for a while, and he still made it up by 2022. So, yeah, no, that's good. That's good to hear because, like I said, I haven't necessarily been able to, like, compare his game with, like, the other catchers. So, hearing that he's already there.
I think so.
That's special.
And I'm not even joking. I think he's the best catcher in the game. But that's my pick. I got Baltimore coming out of the East. In the Central, you know what? I'm going to hitch my wagon back to the Minnesota Twins. They won it last year. That's a nice young team, too. Got a nice park. That should factor in as well. But the Central itself is it's a pretty weak division, all things considered. I don't see a lot out of the Tigers, the Guardians. Also, that's a fail. They should have just been called the Cleveland Spiders because that was just right there for the taking. The White Sox are the White Sox. The Royals are falling off a cliff.
You saying the Guardians are gonna be as the Commanders and ain't gonna stay for very long? You think
no, it's gonna stay. But
I just think it's a bad.
But
name
the old like classic name was the Cleveland Spiders, and they should have went with that.
I did not know that.
Like there's cool. History with the Cleveland Spiders. That's what they should have went with. But Minnesota's gonna take that one. I think the most interesting race, Brenden, in all of baseball is going to happen in the AL West. Houston won that thing last year, 90-72. Texas right there, 97-2. Seattle, 88-74.
Can we push out the cheaters? Are we done with the cheaters? Are they still going to be relevant?
No, they're still going to be relevant. They always
come on, M's.
They always find a way. Yeah, come on, M's. People are
Like,
talking.
I'm so done with the cheaters, man.
People are talking about the M's. Oh, they added some pieces in the offseason. Like, oh yeah, okay, Mitch Haniger. Yeah, we've been down that road before. Like what are we doing? I think Texas wins this division. I think Houston and Seattle battle it out, and whoever wins ends up in second, grabs a wild card spot.
So you think Seattle's still in a good spot to make the wild card?
I think so. I think like as we've come accustomed to, but I think the wild card spots coming out of the West and the East, like it just feels right. Of course, you got play-ins, and eventually you're going to have a play into the play-in, and then eventually every single team's going to make it into the playoffs. But no, I still think Seattle's going to be in a really good spot. If you watched how things went last year, they need to get hot out of the gate because they can't afford to have those late season lulls like they kind of had last year. So I rooting interest wise, I want Seattle to win the division, right? They're my second favorite team. They're the team I grew up watching because they were on TV all the time. I just ended up being a Red Sox fan as my sports fandom developed. But everyone has a second favorite, and it's the Seattle Mariners. When they're good, and Soto Mojo is a thing, right? It's pretty awesome. Seattle is a cool sports town, honestly. And when the Mariners are good, there's a great vibe going on. Like they like their baseball. So I want to see the Mariners do good. And if the Mariners won that division, I'd be hyped. Here's the real thing though. Who gets out of it and gets to the World Series? This is the way too early predictions. But if it comes playoff time, if maybe there's some trade deadline movings and goings on, like you said, Baltimore adds a little bit of help in the bullpen, gets the pitching shored up. That's a team that can make a run. Could you imagine how hyped you would be? Your little Sherwood connection watching Adley Rutschman take hacks in the World Series, you'd be ham.
Oh, it'd be insane. I mean, for Adley to win at all three levels, win at the high school level, win at the college level, and then win at the professional baseball level, that'd be pretty special, Chris. Not gonna lie. But yeah, I mean, it's
Jason Varitek of Boston Red Sox fame.
Name sounds familiar.
Gosh, I hate you young kids.
Well, I am 27, Chris.
He is
probably not the best.
He's one of the greatest. He was such a good catcher. But anyway, he played in the World Series, the College World Series, and the Little League World Series. That's
a pretty good poll. And to be honest with you, I couldn't tell you. Adley might have been in the Little League World Series too.
You never know.
You never know. But yeah, that would. I don't know though, Chris. It's hard, and that's the thing. Is like you look at postseason baseball. And it really, it comes down to, like, this last year. Like, I thought the Orioles had a chance to make some noise this last year, and they kind of got exposed with their kind of lack of pitching depth. So I still think it always comes back to pitching.
It comes back to pitching. It comes back to, like, any other sport, who's hot at the right time. And if you have more often than not, if you have a top-notch pitching staff, it can find a way around a battering ram of a lineup for hitters. So, yeah, pitching matters in this sport, but we'll see what happens. And yeah, I'm rooting for Adley. Why not? Good. Even this duck can put that aside and understand that watching good players play good baseball is pretty darn awesome. And the Beavers have put a lot of good players in there. Shout out to Kobe Ellsbury, by the way, former Red Sox.
Plus the colors are easy to jump between.
Oh, if you're a Beaver fan,
that's what
right?
I said. It works out, man.
That's why selfishly you're like, yeah, as a duck, you're like, can every duck that I really want to see succeed in the league, can they be a Packer so they can just wear green and yellow, right?
True, right?
All right.
Hey, yeah.
Moving on to the National League, Brenden. This one seems pretty chalk. I got Atlanta coming out of the East. That team's an absolute battering ram. In the Central, last year Milwaukee won that thing. I think that thing flips this year. I like Chicago to get back into their winning ways, just because, similar to some things we said about Seattle, things are fun when the Cubbies are winning. Cincinnati's going to be down bad. Pittsburgh, they should be up a ton because they got a really cool ballpark. And like I said, that factors in. And then shout out to the St. Louis Cardinals, who have some local products too. Milwaukee High School's Kenyon Middleton on their pitching staff. So, you got to root for them for some more local OSAA ties, as you say. But I got the Cubs out there. And then in the West, is it just too stupid to be the guy who just said, yep, it's the Dodgers. It's the Dodgers because they signed every person imaginable and they have lots of money and they spend lots of money. They're going to win that thing. I don't know if they make it through, though.
Let me ask you this. If pure hypothetical. Say, do you think, because this is the only part of the Ohtani story that has been beaten to death. Do you think it will serve as any bit of a distraction for him this year? And do you think the Dodgers will be able, and he's not pitching this year. So I really don't think this is the year that the Dodgers are going to, and I know Dodger fans will probably be screaming at the heavens, being like, what? How much more do we have to pay? But this, I think to get the most out of Ohtani, he has to be that two-way player. And I think not having him on the mound probably going to be the difference as to why they don't win a title this year. Maybe I'm wrong, but that's my gut feeling.
No, it might be. I mean, he sits on the bump for a reason. He's pretty darn good at it as long as that arm heals up properly, right? And the elbow can take the torque again, and he can throw like he used to. But when he pitches, he's a pretty darn good pitcher. And when he bats, he's one of the best hitters in the entire league. So, yeah, when you have a five-tool player, you want him to show all five tools, man. So I think you're onto something there. I think maybe it's another year out where they can get full healthy Ohtani, but they also have a lot of good players on that roster. So it's like, yeah, they're going to be good. I mean, you saw last year, they won 100 games without Shohei Ohtani, right? And they have been a perennial contender now for the last multiple years, right? And so, yeah, it's going to be interesting, though. But how does, again, if you're missing a key member of your pitching staff, how does that factor in come playoff time? You saw the upstart Arizona Diamondbacks put things together and try to make a run last year, and that was nice to see. Again, shout out Hillsboro Hops, as the Arizona Diamondbacks are the parent club of your Hillsboro Hops. So you get to see a few players that you may have watched on the summer out in Hillsboro get over there to Phoenix. But yeah, other than like Arizona's going to be good. LA is going to be good. Atlanta's going to be good. Like those three are going to be in contention to get to the World Series. And again, I think Chicago comes out of the Central. Other than that, that's kind of the pick. I don't know who's going to win the World Series. I know I'd like to see Adley Rutschman there just for local stories. I'd love to see the Mariners put that together. Could you imagine a summer in Seattle if the Mariners made it to the World Series? Like, granted, yes, I know the World Series is October into November, but the summer all year long, if the Mariners were a contender like that, that'd be absolutely phenomenal stuff. So,
you're talking about having, Chris, a professional sports championship contender local? What's that?
Shout out to the Seattle Seahawks of yesteryear. But no, you're absolutely right. All I know, Brenden, I'm just preemptively, I'm letting you know. Come October, November, let's see. OSAA championships don't start till kind of like the mid-end November. Also, Blazer season. There might be some conflicts because preseason's going to start. But if you need me to cover in the morning so you can get out to Baltimore with your press credential to cover Adley Rutschman in the World Series, I will more than happily cover for you in late October, okay? I'm just throwing it out there so you can be ready to go to cover Adley. I'm sure when you show your Beavers articles and all this stuff, and then it show him that you were a Bowman too, they will happily grant you media access.
And man, what I wouldn't give. It was I'd be like, so Beaver's Edge will be looking to do a follow-up story on Adley Rutschman. Can we get a credential for the World Series? I'll go, hi and thank you and goodbye. Hey, it's worth shooting the shot, right?
Do you have the copy desk editorial power? Because if the Orioles make it to the World Series, and for like at least a week, you got to change the name of Beaver's Edge to Orioles Edge or Baltimore Edge.
Yeah. We would do a lot of stuff. We do a lot of stuff, man.
Yeah,
we would do so much.
It'd be pretty awesome. All right, we're gonna take a break here on the morning show because we got to talk about something crazy or someone crazy. It is time to talk about Draymond Green and the craziness that he is bringing to the floor every single day and why. And it's coming up next on Rip City Mornings. Oh, man, it's a 2-point ball game, 2 minutes left, and the team just called a timeout. Got to get the arena hyped. I don't know why this song is a good one. What's the name of this song? Even know?
Sandstorm.
Sandstorm. Okay, there you go.
Couldn't tell you who made it, though. That's kind of embarrassing.
DJ Jazzy Jeff.
DJ Burke.
DJ Burke, right? Moby. Is it Dead Mouse? Look at me. I know a few DJs. Shaq's a DJ too. Hey, all right. It is time now for a segment I'm just going to call Stupid Draymond. Like, ay. And this one, Brenden, it pains me to have this segment before people be like, oh, here, just another talking head piling on Draymond. Oh, my gosh. Talk to my friend Keith, who was on game day with me yesterday. I have defended Draymond for a long time. He's a really good basketball player. I contend, was the main cog that won those titles in Golden State. Was Steph Curry the best player? Yes. Was Steph Curry hitting all those threes? Yes. Are they as good of a functioning unit without prime Draymond? I don't believe so. In his prime, he was arguably the best defender in the game. He was probably the best at rebound and pushing transition, right? Getting the team out. That's why they played with such a fast pace. He was a key cog to the way the team performed. But now he's got to a point where he just cannot get out of his own way. He had the altercation, with Yusuf Nurkic, or he hits him in the head, and then he gets suspended, and he has to figure things out, and he comes back and he says he's gonna really fly the straight and narrow, and he really hasn't. He's had a couple other little altercations, not as big, where all eyes are on him. And then last night he gets ejected 4 minutes into the game for chirping at the officials and just not letting it go. And it's like, you're sitting there, you got Steph right in his face, kind of giving him like, come on, let it go. You got all the coaching staff. And to be fair, even the refs just sat there and were just took it. And they're just like, what? Like, get it off your chest. And he just wouldn't stop, right? And he gets ejected. And this is a thing with Draymond, man. You need to check yourself a little bit, because you're too talented and too important to let just your own ego get in the way. And this is not like this is brand new. If he doesn't decide that, kicking a Cleveland Cavalier below the belt is what he wants to do and doesn't get suspended in the finals, the Warriors probably have another trophy, Brenden. He may have cost them at least one, right? And as some people pointed out, I think, and this may very well be true, but he cost the Warriors their chance to keep Kevin Durant.
He did. So you look at it, you take the good, you take the bad, right? So it's like, as much as I want to say that 3-1 comeback was LeBron's greatness, and I don't like LeBron, but I sit back and I go, yeah, he kind of put the world on his back and said, hey, watch, kind of a thing. And I don't think LeBron could do that at his age now. But back then, it's like, yeah, if Draymond doesn't get suspended for that series,
they probably win.
Probably do. Then if Draymond, uttered the very famous words, but hey, as I told Justin about, it was a year and a half ago now, Draymond lived up to his words, because the whole thing, Draymond looked at KD and said, we won before you, we're going to win after you. And ho-hum, they did. They did go win a title after him. But to your point, Chris, like, the Warriors are still not a team I'm going to want to see in the postseason. Like, right now, they're having to fight off a Houston Rockets attack. And, oh, man, the Rockets, Chris, they are coming.
Oh, they are. We'll
10
talk
in a
about
row.
it. We'll talk about that.
Yeah, I think this is kind of the end. I think it's cool that they were able to get one without Durant. But, yeah, this is Draymond. And I think you have to take the good with the bad, because if you don't have Draymond, say, a year and a half ago, you don't beat the Celtics. The Celtics get over the hump, and Jason Tatum's already a champ.
Yeah, that's true.
And Robert Williams.
Yeah. I mean, that's right. Like, the good with the bad. That's why I said, to me, like I said, Steph is great. And I'm not discounting Steph. I just think with Draymond was like, sometimes when you look at a team, like, oh, the missing piece, like, he's that, right? He was like the final piece of the puzzle, and everything was complete. Without him, they're just not the same. And I think a lot of people would agree with that. Like, I'm not saying he was the best player. The best player on that team, Steph Curry, no doubt, right? But they were built in a very specific way, and Draymond was so integral to that success. But now he can't get out of his own way. And it's annoying when he goes through the suspension and this and that, and then says he's going to change his ways. And then you see nonsense like this, like getting ejected 4 minutes into the game. Like, to get ejected 4 minutes into the game, Brendan, you probably planned on this, right? Like, yeah, I'm going to get ejected
Also,
today.
the NBA's got to be better, though. They have to know that, like, and I watched it again. The second technical purely came from Draymond just talking, not being aggressive. Like, he was walking away and still jabbering at the official.
Well, he should have shut his mouth.
But, like, it just seems like a soft ejection. Like, Kobe, soft. Like, it seems soft to me.
No, it wasn't, because you let him go and go and go, and you're like, dude, you said your piece, we're done. You walk away, and he's still going.
But he's Draymond. Doesn't he get a certain level of threshold that others don't?
No, that's stupid. That is worse because nobody should get more threshold because they're Draymond, right? Draymond talks more than Delano Banton, so he should get a longer leash than Delano Banton. No.
I just say winners get sprinkles. That's all I'm saying.
I know you do, but that's a saying for this show. But it's that idea is just dumb to me. It's like this idea that, like, oh, superstars get officiated differently than everyone else, or oh, that was a rookie call. No, that's dumb. A foul is a foul. It doesn't matter who committed it, right? Just call it. No player should get preferential treatment or get a longer leash because, oh, Draymond gets a little bit of a longer leash because he talks rudely to the refs more often than other people. So they no, kick him in the butt, send a message to him and tell him this has got to stop. I don't like that idea whatsoever. Like, it's dumb. Just stop getting out of your own way, Draymond. You're too talented. You're too good. And as Steve Kerr said, like, we need him. The team still needs him. The team still plays well with him. They're lucky that Steph put the team on their back and they got that win in Orlando. Because if they lost that game, the narrative's a little bit different around Draymond this morning. But it's already not good. And again, you can't tell me that you went out there, you learned your lesson, you're going to be a different player, and then you go get ejected 4 minutes into this game. When your team right now, Brendan, as you said, is in a battle because the Houston Rockets have inexplicably won 10 games in a row and are right on the cusp of passing you and getting that final play-in spot. And guess who gets to still play the Golden State Warriors this year? The Houston Rockets.
The Rockets are seeing the fruits of their labor pay off, Chris. They, tanked, showed Steven Silas the door, got serious about winning, and they're right on the border, man.
Well, yeah, coaching matters.
Just throwing that out there.
Ime may have the black cloud for what he did.
But
in
do we
Boston.
really care?
No, I don't think so.
Do we really care anymore about what Ime did or didn't do? Like,
I mean, what to use a Brenden term, for lack of a better term. I mean,
fair.
What, committed adultry? Like,
yeah, I mean, yeah, he did, yeah, like he did, yeah.
So I'm just saying,
he's not the first.
Yeah, I'm just saying, like, I'm not giving him a pass. We're not diving into Ime as a person at the moment,
totally,
but he's a hell of a coach, right?
He is,
and Boston's showing it. Or excuse me, Houston's showing it, not Boston. That's the whole thing. Boop, done. All right, gotta take a quick break here. We still got plenty to get to. 2 more hours of this show right here on your home of the Blazers, Rip City Radio 620. Hello there, Rip City. It is 7 o'clock this morning. The sun, it's trying to come up. I don't even know if it is yet, man. Everything's a blur when you're living the life that we are here in radio. But you know what? You should be up and you should be excited because it is Thursday, March 28th, and that means one thing. Happy opening day in Major League Baseball, everybody. Everybody's taken to the bump today. The Major League season starts now. Adley Rutschman, Sherwood's finest, or perhaps second finest. I don't know where he put Brenden on that list, but he's making a run to the World Series, and it starts today. I'm hyped, man. Baseball is the absolute best. Hey, in the NBA last night, the Warriors, they got the win, but Draymond Green was ejected just 4 minutes into action. It's going to be interesting to see what happens there. He's running after the all-time technical record. He just likes watching games and then praising Steph Curry for the comebacks. Hour 2 of the morning show, guys. It starts now. Welcome back in to Rip City Mornings. Chris Burkhardt here with you. You can follow me on X at Chris J. Burkhardt. I'm also joined by the man, the myth, the legend, Brenden Slaughter, and you can follow him on Twitter as well. At, watch this, B_slot. They couldn't give you the full Slaughter? Was it character count?
There's somebody with B_Slaughter, man. He's been on there forever. I keep hoping him to go away.
Slaughter. Speaking of that, it was funny as my daughter yesterday, we were talking about bad words. I wasn't. My wife and I were talking on the phone, and apparently yesterday my daughter asked, like, "Mom, if I need to ask you if something's a bad word, will I get in trouble if I say the word?" And my wife was like, "Well, no, because you don't know if it's a bad word or not. So if you're asking me and you need to say it to figure it out, wouldn't get in trouble." Well, she was watching, I think it was X-Men. I told her to watch all the old X-Men so you know I can get caught up, watch the new X-Men 97, right? And she's like, "Well, the guy said that the other guy was just a butcher, and he said it like it was mean. And so I think it might have been a bad word." And my wife like, "Nope, it's not a bad word." And I'm over here, I'm like, "Okay, I failed as a parent." My daughter doesn't know what a butcher is when her grandfather is a butcher. He owns a meat market. I know butcher has various different incarnations and usages, right? But I was like, okay, I gotta work on that one. You should know butcher. Butcher and the Slaughter. Rip City Mornings.
Absolutely great, man.
Yeah.
It's it's a good time.
It is a good time. Hey, you know what we're gonna do? Justin had to axe a bunch of segments, right? He's like, Thursday? Nope, I'm perfectly hydrated. It's done. Oh my God, I just pulled a Justin. Did you see that? Clap my hands and turn my head. Like, that was a Justin. Nope, that's done. Worldwide Wednesday? Nope, I like local stuff. Boop, we're done. Then you get Chad yesterday. He's like, "Hey, it's Wednesday. I'm bringing it back because I'm the boss. I can do what I do." You know what? I'm going to make up a segment on the fly. I hope you have the intro ready, right? You can do that like instantly, right?
Oh, the NSA AI can do tremendous things, Chris.
Right. Just for you. You know, you and I had a good conversation on this, and I had a great conversation on it on the fifth quarter. So we're going to get your takes on it on this short segment before we dive into Make or Miss, which I'm excited for. But we got a new segment only when Burkhardt hosts. It's called Thumbstick Thursday. All right? There's no day that starts with a J, or I'd call it joystick. But no, it's Thumbstick Thursday. We're talking video games for a second. Because the other day I dropped a reference. Did you ever play Michael Jordan, Chaos in the Windy City? You even know what I'm referencing?
I've heard of it, but no, I did not play it.
That was back on the old SNES there. And there was a game very similar to, the Earthworm Jims and the Marios of the world. But you were Michael Jordan, and you were trying to save Chicago. And there was also, you had to save all these basketball players, and there was mutants, and there was like robotic spiders. And you were throwing ice basketballs and flaming basketballs. It was amazing. And we got in this conversation, and Jonathan, I called him Jason yesterday. Jonathan Campbell. He's in the YouTube chat right now. First off, he called me out. He's like, Burkhardt, you're around my age. How do you not know Sandstorm? Since I asked you what that was, I'm like, because metal is my wheelhouse, not club dance music. Not my thing. I know Zombie Nation, but that's because why? Yeah, very prevalent in the baseball world, right? But I'm not a big club dance guy. I know some of the names, don't know them all. I'll fully admit, shame on me. Boop, but guess what? Thanks to the young man, the youth of today, like Brenden, I know Sandstorm now. I'll remember it. There you go. But we had this conversation. John says I'm crazy. I'm going to get your take on here. What is the greater console? You can only pick one. You're stuck on an island, but it has TV, electricity, and you get one console and its entire library. You're young, so you might not agree with me, but you going Super Nintendo or Nintendo 64?
I'd go with the 64.
Gosh, why? What is it with all these kids going with 64?
Yeah, I'd take the 64.
Why?
Only because the 64 was, other than Sega Genesis, the first video. Like we briefly touched on this the other day. Like as much as I love the games from my youth, I almost wish it was something where it's like, okay, all those games are available. We've modernized them, play them on the new consoles because, Chris, nothing compared to the new consoles, or
Dude, you're missing out.
or those who computer game too and can set up these awesome situations at home where they've got multiple monitors. Like the video game world is pretty awesome now.
Dude,
and
PC gaming, I got into that pre-COVID.
Yeah,
and then had to build my PC during COVID when prices were crazy high. And now that I built a PC, I don't think I'll ever go back.
So that's like, to that point, it's like, I absolutely, like, again, Chris, there's no other way. I would have to go find a PlayStation 2 if I ever wanted to play Simpsons Hit and Run again. Like, that's just, that is what would have to happen. But it's
so
like,
I get them all plugged in and ready to go. And all I got to do is take out the HDMI. But the way I set it up in my house is I have the TV and I got the little entertainment system under it. And I have all of them. I have a Super Nintendo, a Nintendo 64. I have a GameCube. I have a Wii. I have an original Xbox. I have a PlayStation 2. I have my PlayStation 4. And I have my daughter's Xbox Series S. So that's 8, 9 consoles that I have right there ready to connect and go whenever I want.
That is, God, I need to come to your house, Chris.
Yeah, you do. Oh, and then my PC as well.
Sounds like you got the spot, man.
Oh, hey, come on over. I got 4 controllers on that 64. We can. I
mean, you've been saying you got some more free time after Blazer season's
over. We can Mario
over.
64 it up.
Yeah, I might have to
Super Mario Kart.
Plan out a day, man. Make me get out to Happy Valley, man. It might be a real happy day.
There you go. I just had to get your take on the Super Nintendo.
You'd go 64. Super Nintendo?
Oh, I would.
Yeah.
Without question, without hesitation. Despite the fact that Ocarina of Time might be one of my favorite video games of all time. Despite the fact that Mario 64 is an absolute masterpiece. Nah. Earthbound, Link to the Past, Super Mario Brothers, Yoshi's Island was great. I mean, the list goes on that Super Nintendo, man. That catalog's money. 64 changed the game, though. I mean, 64, it gave us 3D worlds, man. And everything changed from then on out. Gave us GoldenEye. Gave us basically the first reliable first-person shooter.
Also gave us the first, okay, thank God they never gone back, Chris, to having the joystick and just one joystick in the middle of the controller.
Yeah, that was kind of weird.
Like, the controller for the 64 to this, it's like, yeah, we've made a lot of progress.
Yeah, there was a lot of hand cramps. I'm a big fan of the Xbox controller myself. Some people don't like it. It's a little too bulky.
I like it.
But it fits well in my hand. Like, the PlayStation controller is good, but I just feel like the Xbox controller fits better in my hand.
Ergonomics is what they call it.
Yeah, but again, shout out to the PlayStation giving us those dual joysticks, baby.
It's true.
Or thumbsticks for the very first edition of Thumbstick Thursday. Now we need to get a title, a little title slate, nice little intro. I'm taking over. You know what else we need to work on, Brenden? Is the days that, I'm filling in. I fill in for Chad. I fill in for Justin. We need custom intros, okay? I need it's Rip City Mornings with Chris Burkhardt today. Instead of always, I'm here just filling in. I want to feel like I'm involved. So we need to work on that. Where's our voice guy? Speaking of our voice guy, okay. This is a random segment. We're having fun. Okay. Did you know that our voice guy is blind?
I did know that.
For those of you who did not know, the guy who does all those, you're listening to Rip City Mornings with Justin Myers. Go find his Instagram and his YouTube page. There's some phenomenal stuff. But I was looking at it. I'm like, he's blind. So he has like a special system when you send him an email, because we'll send him an email, right? Like, hey, can you do an intro that's a Courtside Monday with Chris Burkhardt? And he has a special thing that helps read the email out loud to him. But like, dude, shout out. That's a talent. That's a talent. And to not be knocked down when life throws a curveball at you like that. And he's got a wonderful voice, by the way. His intros are like, when you research him, like, oh, cool. I've done like the 6 degrees of separation, like watching like a movie trailer or something that he's done, or he's done a couple TV shows. I'm like, yeah, that guy does the intro for Courtside Monday too. We're kind of friends. It's got a fun little Rip City radio factoid for you. But yeah, there we go. Thumbstick Thursday. I had to talk video games. I can't not, because I have been told by Brenden that every once in a while I got to bring something to the table that Justin and Chad won't. So I indulge in, like, you know what? Hey, Brenden, there you go. There's a video game talk for you. You guys just wait. Brenden, I dedicate to you. You and I, if it's not on radio because we're filling in, you and I need to do a special podcast that we can put on the Rip City radio page when NCAA football drops. Brenden and Burkhardt will give you the full-on NCAA 25 or whatever they're going to actually call it, NCAA college football review.
And the cover athlete will be... I'm curious your take, because I've asked Justin and everyone else. I think it's going to be Saban, personally, or Caleb Williams.
A, it's a good question. And B, I have an answer. It should be multiple athletes on the cover. But it should be every single athlete that they would have picked to be cover athlete if there was a NCAA 15, 16, 17,
Can you fit 10 athletes?
Absolutely you can. You make them so, or come on, you have the deluxe version, whatever.
I like that.
You could, because so you have a Joe Burrow on there, a Marcus Mariota would have been on there probably. Like that. Pay a little respect to all the people who missed their chance to be on the cover. Now, if you had to go a current player, like you said, Saban makes a lot of sense. However, I don't think you could put Nick Saban on the cover of a game that is paying athletes $600 when NIL was part of the reason he retired.
This is true.
You got to be careful.
No, it's true. I'm very curious to see who the cover athlete or athletes are, because again, when you haven't done it in 10 years and you're like, the last guy to be on the cover was Denard Robinson. And no disrespect to Denard Robinson, he had a moment, but it's like, yeah, like Chris said, there's a couple really, really good dudes.
Oh my gosh, Brenden.
Can we put Patrick Mahomes on the cover in his Texas Tech jersey?
Texas Tech jersey.
Yeah, baby, let's go.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, if you had to go like over the last year, I mean,
Josh Allen at Wyoming.
Right. It'd probably have to be a Jaden Daniels or a,
It's like that.
Yeah. Or, I mean, Michael Penix. Yeah. I mean, it's
a year earlier, like last year, if they came out a year earlier, you could have went like Penix, Nix, McCarthy, and just made it like all the quarterbacks. That would have been so cool.
Yeah. I'll tell you this much. I'm gonna buy the game regardless.
Oh yeah.
I have a PC, so it's gonna be a digital copy. But just because you can't trust anything that happens with NCAA football, I'm probably gonna end up buying a hard copy just to have it and keep it. So yeah. Maybe you just regionalize it and, or you just pay respect. And you know what the logo should be? The cover of college football, EA Sports College Football should just be the Pac-12 logo. It should be the last thing ever produced with the Pac-12 logo on it. The first college football game in a decade. That's a good question. The cover athlete. You know what else it can give us, Brenden? I'm not going to tell you. I'm going to tell you on the other end of the break. That's called the tease, my friend. When we come back, I'm going to tell Brenden what that game needs. He's also going to give me one of my favorite segments, Make or Miss. The morning show continues right here on your home of the Blazers, Rip City Radio 620. Welcome back in to Rip City Mornings. Chris Burkhardt here with you. You can follow me on Twitter at Chris J. Burkhardt. You can join the conversation if you want. Head on over to YouTube, type in Rip City Radio. You can jump in and join the chat with our millions and millions of followers. Make sure you like, share, subscribe, tell your friends. But Brenden, I told you one thing that people haven't talked about that I think this game needs, or at least I want, is do like NBA 2K does. Okay, you play the newer 2Ks?
Just this weekend, man.
Okay, so you're a 2K guy. So am I. It's probably one of my favorite sports games. I just enjoy it. Okay.
I can make the Blazers win too, which is
yes, as do I.
helpful.
As do I. Full disclosure, I like to jack up one player's stats in particular and put him on whatever roster just because it's fun and it's Greg Oden because he's in the game. So I just put Greg Oden on whatever team I have.
Well done. But yes, no.
But I make sure I put big, bulky knee braces on him. Now,
well done.
one thing that NBA 2K does that's kind of cool, and this college football game would be smart to do, give me classic teams. So I can go in there and I can take Bo Nix and the 2023 Ducks, and I can play the 2001 Miami Hurricanes, right? With Willis McGahee and Clinton Portis and Ken Dorsey and all that. Or I can take my Ducks, or you can go take your
2000 Beavers.
There you go. You go. You can go play. And you wouldn't. There's no way. You're like, I am not gonna play a classic version of. Actually, you would. You would play the classic Beaver team, but before the game started, you would go into your depth chart and you would take quarterback Jonathan Smith and put him at the bottom of the depth chart because your pettiness knows no bounds.
Yeah, no, full disclosure. There, you, and I tell this to Justin because he's probably tired of hearing me say it. Y'all haven't even known how, we're not even in football season. Y'all don't even know. It won't last forever. But for a good, solid season, Chris, I've said this, I've declared this on this program. Maybe we need to talk about it, work in a fun little bet or something. Chris, I am fully planning on, for the first time in my life, actively rooting for the Oregon Ducks when Michigan State comes to Autzen Stadium.
I was just gonna say, are you gonna? I don't know what the schedules are yet, but there's a slight possibility.
Yeah, that particular weekend, I will be pulling for the green and yellow. In addition to my team.
Are the Beavers playing that weekend?
That's a good question.
Like I said, let's just say hypothetically they're not. Then there's a chance Brenden shows up to Autzen for the first time when the Beavers aren't playing. I would actually not be. I would not be shocked if there are Beaver shirts that show up at Autzen that weekend just to boo.
There should be. Let's see. So that game is on October 5th. Oregon State does play at home that day as well. So maybe I can pull the double dip, man. Do a little north in Corvallis and then head on down south.
Yeah, to go watch Aiden Childs get blown up at Autzen.
Oh, it'd be fantastic. It'd be fantastic.
But seriously, give me some classic teams.
Yeah,
or the other thing that 2K does.
Oh, it's awesome. 2K does the classic teams and the all-time
teams, right?
We need Oregon all-time, Oregon State all-time.
Right?
It's a lot of effort. Classic
give
teams.
Me Bo Nix throwing to Sammy Parker.
Yeah,
right?
I'll start with the pack because that's just what I know well. Classic teams, couple Oregon teams in there. I want to go 2010 Oregon when they had Darren Thomas and went undefeated. Again, 08, 09 Oregon State, 04, 03 Cal with Aaron Rodgers, Marshawn Lynch and company.
Give me the 05 Matt Leinart, Reggie Bush.
That's another, and more great ones. I guess you got to go back a ways, but eventually find a competitive team at Arizona and Arizona State in the 80s and 90s. Stanford with Andrew Luck and Toby Gerhart. That team was really good.
That's what I'm saying.
So, again, then the classics like Joe Burrow.
Yes, I get it. It's a lot of money because you got to pay likeness rights. But, man.
You know that old saying, walk before you run? I think this will be the walk, and then, next year, Chris,
they've had 10 years to walk. This thing needs to hit the ground.
It's only been,
sprint.
Legal for them to work on it for, a year and a half.
Whoa. No. You can legally work on it. You just can't You just can't sell it and produce it. You
That's
could
true.
have the game ready to go.
So, I mean, I would imagine like there's going to be more, like, for example, like how next year they're like, don't hold on, Eastern Washington, Portland State fans. Like, the FCS teams will be in it next year. So, like, I do think gradually they're going to start adding more and more in. And it's like, yeah, you're 100%
Also,
right. They should take
yeah.
from the 2K model.
Also, I've been pampered with the college football revamped that you and I have talked about before. And with modern technology, there is zero excuse. And yes, I know this comes across as Oregon homer because only Oregon fan thinks about this. But there is zero excuse to have every uniform combination possible. I want to be able to play that game and wear the Joey Harrington era Duck jerseys, okay? You want to be able to play that game and wear those ugly sports bra OSU ones that they had for a few years. You know what I'm talking about?
Well, that was only 1 year, and it was quite bad.
Those were bad.
It's not great.
Full disclosure again, people I'm not a duck homer. I would give Oregon State credit where it's due. The numbers that you guys rock right now that have the tree design inside the number, that's S tier, dude. That's top tier number design.
Interesting you say that because they are, from what I've heard, rebranding, and they're going to get slightly new uniforms that are kind of, I guess, from what I've heard, and very, very tongue-in-cheek, very quiet. Must be some secret stuff going on over at Nike over there. But it sounds like Oregon State's going to go back to like the mid-2000s or shades of the mid-2000s.
Okay.
For
Just
uniform.
don't go back to
don't go back to the sports.
The sports
bras.
bra one was a bad.
It was not
uniform.
it, as the kids say, Chris.
Mid 2000s, those weren't terrible.
No, yeah,
I
yeah.
actually like the new ones. I don't like the all orange because
It's a lot to look at.
no, it's because I don't know why, but
They are clean.
the hue on the helmet doesn't match the orange on the uniforms, and it throws me. It's
That is true.
I don't like that.
Yeah, that is. It's almost more like like an orange, like the fruit orange for like the helmet, and like the beaver orange for like the color.
That's a good way of putting it.
Yeah.
It throws me off.
Yeah, that's actually.
I'm
I've
not
noticed
even a
that
Beaver
too.
fan, and you got me upset though, because I love the tree design, the hidden little tree inside the number. It's top tier.
But yeah, it sounds like Oregon State's ready to. That's the thing, Chris. They're going into the Pac-2, right? Their coach said, "You're not good enough for me. I'm going to the Michigan State girl." So I mean, it's kind of an appropriate time for like
That's true.
a refresh. Now,
See, but now they're going to refresh, and they're going to if they refresh, they're going to get rid of one thing that does work for them that not enough
probably
teams
true.
do, and that's maybe a good thing.
just keep the
But-
chainsaw, man.
Yeah,
That's all I
oh,
say.
the chainsaw's dumb.
Justin says the same thing.
Hey, the chainsaw, that's deforestation. You're taking away the beaver's natural habitat. It's anti-beaver. No beaver needed a chainsaw. They are nature's chainsaw, okay?
By that definition, then the horn that Oregon plays after every touchdown is definitely detrimental to the health of ducks.
The
in
horn's
air.
stupid, too.
Okay, fair enough.
Let me
See,
Let me just play this bit.
see, I like respect. It's like,
Like-
is the horn my favorite thing? No, but it's Oregon's thing, man, and they do it well. So it's like
they
respect.
do it, but like I'm just like, why? Like they have the horn for the San Francisco 49ers, but that makes sense. Big foghorn. They're on the bay, shipping community. Cool. I don't know. I mean, it's not the horn at Autzon's not awful, but it's not great. It's mid tier. Chainsaw sucks. Maybe because I got irritated that they brought it into Blazer games. I had to hear it every single time Drew Eubanks made a layup. Oh gosh. Okay, that's my duck homerism. I'm sorry, Brenden. I apologize for that. I should play nicer. Oh, but as I was saying though, the home whites, even though you can't say that anymore because everyone wears whatever jersey they want, but the off white, like the cream, that's money. More teams need to do that. It only works with certain color combos though. Like an off white with the green and yellow wouldn't look good to me. But off-white and orange works. That's why it works for the San Francisco Giants, right? Come on. Color theory. People need to think about this. Brenden, I just pulled a Justin, okay? And what that is we have a segment called Make or Miss, and I waste the first 10 minutes talking about NCAA football. It is time, though, to get to Make or Miss.
All right. This is going to be fun. One that I wanted to talk about today, Chris, and I'm very excited to get your take on this.
Okay.
Michael Porter Jr. saying the root cause of all evil is money is extremely hypocritical. So a little context
I get
with
what you're
this.
laying down. Yeah, give us the context.
Yeah, so they interviewed Michael Porter Jr., who is Jonte Porter's older brother,
Correct.
obviously, and he kind of talked about. Let me go ahead and make sure I get the quote here correctly, because they basically were asking about it, and as Chris and I said, kind of a not so great thing going on with Jonte Porter and the fact like, hey, there were some weird numbers going on with prop bets. But nevertheless, Michael Porter says, I've known my brother my whole life. Obviously, that's a pretty hat in hand statement. I know what type of dude he is. I would hope so. And I know he's excited to play basketball. Okay, and wouldn't put anything in jeopardy. Now, he specifically said, when talking about betting, he said, it's a dangerous part of the game now. I think it's obviously a dangerous habit. It's a dangerous vice for people. 3 different dangerous. Okay, tell me how you really feel. The love of money is the root of all evil. Not sure I agree with that. So I think that even though it's a thing, we as players just have to accept. We get paid a lot of money to play this game, and I know the fans want to make money as well. So other than totally trying to distract and take the spotlight off my younger brother who is in deep hot water right now.
Yeah.
For someone, Chris, who signed a supermax, or not supermax,
for
but
someone who was in
a max contract?
year 2 of a 5-year, $179 million deal.
I don't tell me the money's the root of all evil. All evil, Michael Porter, get out of here.
Yeah,
that's just my take on that. But that rubbed me the wrong way this morning, man.
Yeah, you're making you have, even if you prorated the money that you have left to get paid over the last 10 games is more money than your brother has made his entire NBA career. So. Yeah, I also think it's an interesting quote when it's just like, yeah, it's just something we got to live with and get used to. And it's like, okay, so okay, so you're just gonna give sports gambling a pass here? Okay. Money is the root of all evil. No, money does not inherently lead to evil. The greed associated with it does. However, the people who are greedy because of their money are usually greedy even without the money being present, right?
Totally.
So. I don't know. It's everyone likes to have some fun, fancy saying, right? To just latch on to.
Yeah, I don't think this is even so much more about the money because it's like, and Chad was kind of saying this a little bit yesterday. Is like, money. Whether it's, I think people are, and to that point, I think people are going to always have their vices, Chris. Some people like to sports gamble. Some people like to go have a cigarette. Some people like to, go have a glass of whiskey. Right? Everyone's going to have a vice or something that they spend money on that maybe they're like some random person be like, oh, you spend money on that kind of a thing. Well, now the slippery slope with gambling, I think, is just the fact that it's the fact that people can get addicted. And what Chad was saying, the addicted to the action.
What are you talking? It's a risk-free investment. Isn't that what Reese Davis said?
He did, right? Risk-free investment, man, baby. I'm sure he had to walk that back a little bit.
You know what's interesting with all of this, and I find it interesting, especially with the Porter case, right? And it was the NCAA president's coming out saying that, they want to eliminate prop betting in college sports if they can. And I think that's interesting, and maybe that's a place where you start. And I know, of course, the hardcore bettors won't like that. But look at the Jonte Porter case, right? So I can't remember the exact numbers off my head, but it was like 8.5 points, 5.5 rebounds, 1.5 assists, and 0.5 3-pointers. And he hit on the under on all of those. Well, if I'm an athlete who's betting on sports, Brenden, what's easier to hit on? My personal over-unders or tossing an entire game, right? So the prop betting and the player bet, that's where it gets really interesting because I have full control if I'm Jonte Porter or if I'm Chris Burkhardt and I'm playing in the NBA, right? And the over-under for my points is set at 5.5. I have full control of whether I hit 5.5 or not, right? So I can go bet on myself on the under and I hit a 3. Guess what? I'm missing every other shot, so I'm hitting the under, right? But I don't have full control if all I can bet on is if that team wins or loses. Or even by how much. I have a little bit of say, but I don't have full control. We've seen that before in the history of sports betting and fixed games and this and that, where it was obvious that someone is tossing a game, but not everyone else is in on it. Isn't that the story? Can't even remember the team. Was it Arizona State back in the day? There's a 30 for 30 on it. I'll have to look this up during the break. But yeah, sports betting is wild. I get why it's there. I enjoy it casually. I don't invest a ton of money in it. But it is dangerous, especially again, you talk about money being the root of all evil, Mr. Porter. Yeah. Easy for you not to bet on sports because you signed a deal. You're guaranteed 180 mil. Money, breeze. But for a guy like your brother who doesn't know when or if he's going to get another NBA contract, trying to milk that little bit of money you do have, yeah, it's an interesting, like you said, a very slippery slope. What else you got for us?
Go ahead and move on. This ought to be a good one that Chris and I can debate. Draymond's ejection was weak.
No, I don't think it was. I think that's a miss. I know you think it's a make because, winners get sprinkles and he won a championship. So now he's the greatest thing on earth. But I don't think it's weak because you got to draw your line in the sand, man. And you watch that video and like you said, yeah, maybe he didn't say a lot, but you watch that video and you can't honestly watch that and go, yeah, that went 60 seconds longer than it needed to be, right? Like it went on and on and on. Like say your piece and move on. And you have so many people like carrying water for the guy, right? So there's the article on ESPN, Kendra Andrews, and she writes right in the first sentence, Draymond returned from his indefinite suspension in January. The Golden State Warriors have applauded the way he has maintained his fire while managing not to cross the line. He would bark at officials and play with physicality, but did so without taking it too far. Like you're already setting this up, excusing his behavior, right? Oh, he barks all the time and he plays physical, but he hasn't crossed the line. Oh, applaud to you, Draymond. No. Because he did cross the line with how he treated those officials in that particular instance. And I'm glad they pulled the trigger and got him out of there. They let him say more than his piece, and he just wouldn't let it go. I would have put my kids in timeout too, Brenden.
Yeah, it's one of those things where when it comes down to things that I've seen players ejected for and things that I haven't seen them ejected for, like the burden of proof seems to be a lot smaller for Draymond. And it's like, at the end of the day, like Draymond is Draymond. And we all should know because like he's never going to change, right? He was suspended for how long this year when it's like he was supposed to go really think about what he did and came back. And I just say like, it's one of those things where I don't mind Draymond being a little extra and it doesn't really bother me because he's earned that right over the last decade. Like, and
No.
To your point, like I said, I don't necessarily agree, but hey, to your point, like I can see why someone said, hey, the Warriors get the benefit of whistles. They totally do. I would expect the Celtics get the benefit of some whistles this year too. I think that the NBA is like,
see, but then you're rewarding his bad behavior by allowing him to continue to behave badly, right? So if Scoot Henderson would have acted the exact same way, it wouldn't have lasted as long as it did. The technical would have been instantaneous, right? And it probably would boom, boom, done. Why? Because he's a rookie and he hasn't been as rude as long as Draymond has. Oh, it's Draymond being Draymond. No. I say that as a guy who had to work on his anger issues. Just because you have anger issues doesn't excuse you for your anger. It doesn't. You're responsible for that. So no, I like the fact that they kicked him out. I think that's not the ref's problem. It's a Draymond problem. He needs to fix that. Now, did you see Kelly Oubre after his game in Philly last night?
I think I missed that one.
Oh, Kelly Oubre goes for the game-winning shot, gets fouled. It was a foul by Paul George. They didn't call it. He walked over to the refs as Nick Nurse is completely unloading on them, and he dropped a very clear, you a B, pointed to all three refs. He didn't say B, though. He said the full word that we can't say on radio. The NBA. Oh, man. Wild, Wild West. All right, got to take a quick break here. Plenty of more sports coming up on your home of the Blazers, Rip City Radio 620. Welcome back into Rip City Mornings. Chris Burkhardt here with you, filling in for Justin Myers, joined as always by super producer Brenden. And Brenden did have one more make or miss we didn't get to, and it was an interesting one. And I believe it was basically Kentucky make or miss made the right move by keeping Calipari. And I find it interesting that there are people asking for John Calipari's head right now because of a first round exit in the NCAA tournament. Because when Brenden brought that question to mind, I just looked at him. I'm like, well, who, if they fired him now, who are they getting that's better? Like John Calipari, he's one of the best coaches in the NCAA. And they have a championship to show for it, but let's be real here. I mean, how hard is it, Brenden, to get through and win the tournament? It's incredibly hard. Since you go back to Kentucky winning. So Kentucky won in 2012. In that time, Louisville's won, UConn's won, Duke's won, Villanova's won, North Carolina's won, Villanova won again, Virginia won, Baylor won, Kansas won, UConn won again. So in the last 10, 11 years, there's been 8 different champions, right? Parity, it's a thing.
Let's play a game, Chris. I'm curious to see if you can guess. So only 7 Division I men's basketball coaches have won a national championship. Only 1 on that list, or excuse me, 2 on that list have multiple championships. I'm curious to get your.
Oh my gosh, say that again.
So only, let's see here. Only 7 active Division I men's basketball coaches have a national championship.
Okay. Wow.
So it's short, right? And technically there's 2 of them that have multiple championships. So you go Bill Self, who has 2 titles with Kansas.
Right.
My guy, Slick Rick Pitino, got 1 with Louisville, even though it's not necessarily there anymore, and 1 in the late 90s. Then you've got Tony Bennett, Virginia.
Okay.
Scott Drew at Baylor. Calipari. Tom Izzo, Dan Hurley. So if that doesn't tell you how hard it is to win at college basketball, shoot, Chris, I don't know what else will. Like, that right there should tell you just how, like, you move over to the women's side, and I can pick, Gino Auriemma and Tara Vanderveer and Kim Mulkey, and that's like 18 of the last 20 titles. So it's definitely interesting to kind of see it's a little bit more parity on the men's side.
Yeah, it's wild. I mean, gosh, even go back to the Pat Summitt eras, right? Tennessee just dominated, but
Pat Summitt has 8, I think. So yeah.
It's interesting. I mean, and everyone goes, well, the talent that Kentucky has, and they're supposed to be good every year, and I get that. I mean, you look at like mock drafts right now. Okay, so like looking at a mock draft right now, this draft from Bleacher Report has Dillingham, their guard, going number 2, and it also has going in. Let's see, that's number 2, and then also going in the top 5 to the Trailblazers is Reed Shepherd, their guard as well. So it's like they got 2 guys who are projected to go in the lottery, but that doesn't mean anything because. Yes, I don't think either one of those guys is as good as some of the all-time great names that went through Kentucky. But again, you won that championship in 2012. Well, there's guys who have gone through that team like De'Aaron Fox, who was post 2012, Julius Randle, who was post 2012, Willie Cauley-Stein, who was post 2012, Jamal Murray post 2012, Karl Anthony Towns post 2012. Lots of talent there that didn't win a championship, right? So that doesn't mean much. But John Calipari puts that team in a position and has their team with such lofty goals because he's been that good, right? If Calipari wasn't good, then they wouldn't be in this conversation and then let down because there was a first round exit. But it's basketball. Things happen. We love our Cinderellas. That's why they're there. But you can't tell me as a Beaver fan that if they let go of Wayne Tinkle tomorrow and Calipari was on the open market and it's announced that Oregon State is signing John Calipari, that you aren't putting a hole in the roof because you jumped so high, you're excited.
Oh yeah, I'd be all in, man. Like, no doubt. I mean, my team could never get a coach with that kind of credentials or credibility. But hey, in this make believe world, Chris, I'm all in. So you're totally right. Like I said, you know that gif of Forrest Gump running out of the house when it's like turning the corner, like I'm on my way. Like
Right.
that would be me. Like I'd be like, Chris, Oregon State's hired, and I'd be like, Chris, you can finish out the show. I know you can do. You can wear multiple hats. So the show is yours. Yeah, I'm head that way.
Yeah.
But yeah, totally.
Yeah,
Totally right.
so yeah, John Calipari, he's great. He's also an old school coach who is, navigating the new world of the NIL and how recruiting changes and this and that, and he still gets talent and puts together good teams. But I get it when you are Kentucky and you believe that you should be winning every single year. Yeah, you want to get further than the first round elimination, but I just wouldn't get upset and fire Calipari right now. NCAA, like you said, the NCAA tournament itself has just created such parity, right? I mean, Oregon wasn't even supposed to be in that tournament, right? They weren't supposed to sniff it. And then they had an incredible run in the Pac-12 tournament. They get in, they get a first round win, and they're a missed free throw away from knocking off the number 3 seed Creighton, right? So it's like crazy things happen in the NCAA tournament. If I'm Kentucky, I'm not moving off of Calipari unless there is a field of coaches that I know are 100% better. You don't make change just to make change sometimes.
Which, let's just throw it out there. Even if you wanted to drag an NBA coach to the college level, which I don't know if you want to do with today's world of NIL and everything else, I think a college coach kind of has to be born from the college level. And it's not I'm trying to think of someone who's you just don't see a whole lot of crossover from NBA to college anyway, other than I think of a guy like Billy Donovan, right?
Yeah.
And even Billy Donovan, 2 national championships. Did he blow the world on fire at Oklahoma City or with Chicago? I think Billy Donovan's a solid coach, but that's it. Solid.
He's good in OKC. Chicago's had their problems, but they've largely underperformed. But yeah, you're right. It's an interesting world out there in college football. All right, we're going to take a break here on the big show. When we come back, we still have Blazer talk to talk about, Brenden. And of course, mailbag is going to be coming your way. I love that segment. It's one of my favorites. It's all coming up here on Rip City Mornings on your home of the Blazers, Rip City Radio 620. It is 8 o'clock in the Pacific Northwest. It's whatever time it is, wherever you're listening as well. But no matter where you are, we all have one thing in common today. Happy opening day in Major League Baseball. That's right. Every team, well, almost every team playing today. Atlanta and Philly, Milwaukee, and the Mets, they aren't going to open the day. Their game's already postponed due to weather. But everybody else is playing, baby. I'm so excited. Baseball is back. Woo! Hey, what else is going on? Your Oregon State women's basketball team taking on number 2 Notre Dame tomorrow. Big game for the Beavers. See if they can advance in the NCAA tournament. Brenden and I will talk about it coming up in hour number 3 of Rip City Mornings, which starts now. Welcome back into Rip City Mornings. Chris Burkhardt here, filling in for Justin Myers. Shout out to Rip City Home Dad, who tweeted at us and said, hey, I've been hoping and saying this for a while. Burkhardt, you need your own weekday show. I think you got a lot of cool segments. Must have been a fan of Thumbstick Thursday. I love it. Thank you so much. It means a lot. Also, Larry Miller chimes in. He's always chiming in. He's like one of your guys' top listeners for sure. So shout out to Larry. Well, the only thing with Larry is he often disagrees with me. I love the fact that he's listening, but he disagrees with me, and that's fine. That's why it's a debate show. If you only knew how often I disagree with Brenden, it makes for good radio sometimes. All right, but Larry says winning teams always get and should be provided the benefit of the whistle. Winning teams bring more eyeballs to the sport and additional revenue for the leagues. And I get that take, but again, I already said it, but I disagree. And you know what's interesting, Brenden, is the winning teams may bring eyeballs. That's very well true. But you know what's turning off a lot of fans? Poor officiating, right? So it's like one of those, which way do you lean? I don't agree. I don't think a winning team should get the benefit of the call. Think about it this way. If you're playing the Ducks in football, right? And they, like this past season where they were a contender to be in the college football playoff, Oregon State wasn't. So objectively, Oregon was the air quote better team. Should they get the benefit of calls? Like, should they get away with pass interference that is being called on the Beavers because they're the better team? The answer is no. A pass interference
I mean, they kind of did.
But they shouldn't. They shouldn't. And I disagree. You're just an upset Beaver fan, but you get what I'm saying, Brenden. You just take your.
Well, as it turns out, you don't play that great of a game against your arch rival when your coach has told you the day before he's leaving.
Brenden,
so
I need you to think in the hypothetical here with me, okay? Let's take it to the basketball court where Wayne Tinkle hasn't left, okay? And Oregon, they weren't a very good team, but let's say they were undefeated or something. Do they deserve the benefit of the whistle over Oregon State at a game at Hill Coliseum? The answer is no. The better team doesn't deserve it. A foul is a foul. That is my opinion. I'm also not a referee, okay? You know what I love about you, Brenden? You are just so true to you. Like, I ask you a hypothetical about Oregon State football, and your brain still can't get over Jonathan Smith, and you just had to dig in. And I love it. I absolutely love it. That's fandom right there.
You take the good and with the bad, and that's what I said. I think you like you said, you own it, and yeah, like I said, the pettiness, it's only getting started, man. But no, back to your point. I do slightly disagree, and that's okay. I mean, I think it's one of those things where
absolutely okay.
It's subjective.
You're wrong, but it's okay.
And yeah, I mean, for the most part, yeah, like you're right. I would like to pick and choose my situations. Like, oh yeah, I'd like to be called lesser here and more here. So
yeah,
totally will own that. But yeah,
no, it's fair. It's fair. You and Larry are in the same boat. And shout
out Larry, my guy.
Big shout out to Larry, because I don't think I've ever filled in on a show where he hasn't tweeted at us, man. So Larry, I don't think you truly understand how much we appreciate that. It's so nice to know that you're always listening and always chiming in, and it's wonderful, man. The Rip City Morning, you got a good listening crew. Let me tell you what, you guys are absolutely awesome. Even when you disagree with me, it makes for, like I said, makes for good talk. Brenden disagrees with me all the time. Doesn't mean he's right, but it also doesn't mean I'm right. Except I'm a dad. I'm always right. Unfortunately for me, this show isn't hosted in my house, where that's the only place I hold that power. Right? Now, Brenden, I want to get to your wheelhouse, all right? Not Sandstorm. That's not my wheelhouse. We already talked about that. But we got some big games coming up tomorrow, 11:30 a.m. Tip off, and you can listen to it over on our sister station, 1190 KEX. But Oregon State women's basketball tipping off against Notre Dame. And I want to get your thoughts on that one. What are the chances the Beavers get a win over number 2 Fighting Irish?
Yeah, again, Chris and I were just talking about the formats and how the teams ultimately shook out. And I'll say this is my last rant. I said it was my last rant on my podcast yesterday about this, but I'm gonna do it one more time.
So you're a liar.
Who in the right mind thought it was a good idea to send Oregon State to Albany, New York, while also sending UConn? UConn from Connecticut to Portland, Oregon. So. Two that, really a big time missed opportunity that Oregon State's not playing at games here at Moda. I know there's a lot of fans that are really kind of frustrated with that, especially as you mentioned, Chris. Traveling across the country is not cheap these days. So, it's definitely a bit of a miss there. But as far as the game itself, Chris, I think Oregon State's got a good chance. Obviously the top dog, South Carolina, will be awaiting the winner of Notre Dame, Oregon State in the next round. I think that's bit of a tough task for anybody in their unblemished record, but I like this game. If Oregon State can play their game, I think they can win.
Yeah, I really like the Beavers basketball club, and I think
in Vegas sees it the same way. Notre Dame's a 3-point favorite right now, so that's fair. I give them that as a nod, but I think this one will be right down to the wire. Beavers and Irish have had some great women's basketball games over the last half decade or so. So yeah, I'm excited to see how all that shakes out, Chris.
Yeah, like I said, I think they're not going. The thing is, they're not going anywhere anytime soon. I mean, what, Reagan Beers is a sophomore, so yeah, and she's really, really darn good. You also have a player on that roster that I think by general college basketball fan is generally overlooked, but had a chance to watch her through OSAA tournaments, and I think she's the real deal and is only going to get better. But that's Donovan Hunter, freshman guard. Like I think she's a bucket, man. She's not required to be the go-to right now, but by the time she hits her senior year, she's a baller, absolute baller. So it's gonna, this to me, Brenden, with Oregon State, like I think this is a realistic chance, and I'm not even trying to sound corny. Again, I'm the Duck guy, but I think this is the realistic chance to kind of be the start of something special in the long term. And I know that they've had their good runs, and Coach Ruick's done great, but to me, not being a Beaver fan and looking at like this feels like this might be the true start of this being the standard. You know what I mean? Like this is a good club. They're only getting better, and my goodness, what Coach Ruick's doing down there has been incredible.
Oh, it is. And that's the thing is, it's been a lean couple years, particularly last year was tough. There was another year in that window when it was tough. And there were some uncalled for chatter like, hey, what's going on with Scott Ruick, right? What's going on with Scott Ruick? Kind of like we're hearing about Kelly Graves down in Eugene right now, right? Some chatter, people that are a little upset.
See, and I get what you're laying down with that too, because I'm of the mindset like, dude, I Kelly Graves, there's a speed bump there, maybe for various reasons, but
yes.
I would not unhitch my wagon from him.
No, he's a terrific coach. Just like I said, Scott Ruick didn't forget how to coach. They had COVID. They had some girl, like again, Chris, Oregon kind of found this out too. When you have 3 or 4 5-star girls transfer, you can't just create that in the aggregate again. Like that is so
obviously, yeah.
hard.
Oregon found that out the hard way too. And the thing is, because of COVID, where it opened up those transfer doors and it made it easier for people to leave. And you can't fault any of these athletes. How many athletes ended up going closer to home because COVID was just
horrible,
wreaking havoc, and they're like, I just need to be closer to family. And that changed the game.
A ton of people, and I think that was obviously a part of it. But I stayed steadfast and told those who asked, like, hey, Scott Ruick's a good coach. He'll get it figured out. And you see this year, I would already say they're playing with house money, Chris, because they don't have a senior on the roster. They're relatively young. You mentioned their best player is a sophomore, and Oregon State's best teams under Scott Rueck, Final Four a decade ago, they had an elite girl in the middle. So
Yeah.
I think that's kind of the key to everything for Oregon State. She is the straw that stirs the Beavers. And again, I like their matchup, and I think they could beat Notre Dame.
Yeah.
Again, South Carolina.
Yep.
Well,
South
we'll cross that bridge when we get there.
South Carolina's at the top of my bracket.
Yeah,
I have them winning my bracket.
Yeah.
They're a horse. I personally think Dawn Staley, regardless of women's game, basketball game,
She's such a good
I
coach.
think she's one of the best basketball coaches in the world. She's incredible. But yeah, like you said, you talk about a Final Four run a decade ago, and then you have ups and downs. Again, that's why this one feels to me like, regardless of the outcome against Notre Dame, this feels like the start of making this type of season a consistent thing for Oregon State. And so, yeah, kudos to Scott Rueck, kudos to that young team. Like I said, what the differentiation between women's basketball and men's basketball, you only throw the women's label on the worst team. So the women's basketball team is the Oregon State basketball team, and then you have the Oregon State men's team, because they're incredible, man. And to do it with this young team and still got some people who haven't even got to show how good they are. Yeah, it's a good time if you're a Beaver fan. To which you are. There's another player on there who doesn't see the floor a ton, but I watched her tear it up for Barlow again. That's Kennedy Schuler, another nice young player too. So man, shout out to the Beavs.
Yeah, I like seeing the contingent of Oregonians on the roster too. And you mentioned Kennedy doesn't play quite as much as Donovan does, but again, credit the Okay, so help me out here, Chris. Was it North or South Medford she came from?
South.
Okay, so credit the coaching at South Medford, because again, I think every college or high school to college journey is different. But when you can find someone who can hit the college game that quickly and be like, boom, like ready to go, she was well prepared. And, that maybe that OSA competition, Chris, might have given her a good lead into to this year, which I think is pretty cool. And, you being the OSA guy, like,
hey, man, hey, Donovan, she leaves South Medford. They lost in the state championship game. What did South Medford do? They still put it together. They won this year.
So good program down there.
Good program, good coaching, good everything. Just too bad. It's just too bad either Oregon State or Oregon couldn't get old Jazzy Davidson from Clackamas, because she's nasty good, dude. She's might end up being one of the best women's basketball players come out of this state when it's all said and done. She's nasty. Also, shout out to Stanford, Cameron Brink of Mountainside/Southridge fame, right? OSAA, man, we're churning out the athletes, baby. But real quick before we go, you and I talked about during the break, and I get it. You don't want to make it strict regionality, especially with the way things are going. But I do think it's just an absolute travesty that Portland is hosting and Oregon State's playing in Albany. That's just wild. And especially the women's game at this point, which they have not made destination viewing yet, right? How many Oregon State fans have the finances or the time to want to go all the way to New York for this? How many of them are doing it if it's the men too? Like that's a lot to ask. But if you put Oregon State at Moda Center to play Notre Dame tomorrow, and Notre Dame, they're in the middle, they could have gone either way, right? But man, you would have sold a mad amount of tickets. I would have accepted the chainsaw in Moda because it would have been worth it. But I guess you also don't want to go full regional, because if you did that and you put them all where their closest region was, it would have just basically been a Pac-12 bracket when it's all said and done, right? Colorado, UCLA, all these teams that are still standing. So shout out Pac-12 women's hoops, man. It's a travesty. People talking about football, it's a travesty that thing's ending, because Pac-12 hoops has been pretty darn awesome. Speaking of hoops, Brenden and I have not really dove into the Trailblazers, but we're going to do it in the next segment because there's a lot going on, and it's not just Delano Banton, folks. We're going to talk about them coming up here on your home of the Blazers, Rip City Radio 620. Welcome back in to the Rib City Mornings. Chris Burkhardt here with you, filling in for Justin Myers. You can follow me on Twitter at Chris J. Burkhardt. You can also follow my man Brenden at B_slot. Have a little fun there too. Carry on the conversation all day long. Brenden will probably ignore it. I won't. I'm addicted to Twitter. I'll see it. We'll have some fun. But we need to talk Trailblazer basketball, Brenden, because things are getting very, very interesting in the world of the NBA. Last night, the Trailblazers fell to the Atlanta Hawks 120 to 106. And before we get to where that puts them in the standings and what's going on now that the Blazers have, let's see, is this a league leading 8-game losing streak? No, it's the second in the league because Toronto is currently on a 12-game losing streak and the Detroit Pistons also on an 8-game losing streak. But things are getting very, very interesting in the standings, and we'll talk about that in a second. But you can't really talk about the game last night in Atlanta without talking about a certain bench player, and that is Delano Banton. He played 37 minutes off of the bench, scored a career-high 31 points, also had a career-high 9 assists. Darn near another double-double. He's scored in double figures now, multiple games. I don't know the exact number, but he's on a stretch, which is also a career high. And he did it on 13 of 23 shooting, 5 of 11 from deep. And Twitter is falling in love with the guy. There was takes from different people like, I can't wait to see what he does. And I could see Delano Banton leading this team for years to come. And everybody is in love with Delano Banton. And they should be. He's playing great. He's playing absolutely great. But I'm also here to say just pump the brakes just a little bit. Okay? Like just pump the brakes just a little bit. Remember during COVID, Brenden, this is in your wheelhouse. I know it is. But remember during COVID when we all woke up and suddenly GameStop stock was like $80 per share, right? And it got unnaturally inflated, right? And the stock bros won, and then it ended up falling back down to earth, and it made a couple people a nice cold hard cash when it was all said and done. But then eventually, once everyone realized what was going on, it was a slap back to reality. Everyone sold their stock, and a thing that was selling at $80 a share, just a year ago is now sitting here at 12, right? Came back down to earth. Delano Banton is the GameStop stock in COVID.
Oh,
right?
I love it.
Like that's where he's at right now. You get my reference. It makes sense, right? Like he is trading at $80 a share. Things are like people can't even fathom what the heck's going on. And whoa, we need to buy. I mean, it dropped from 81 at its high, I think it was, to the very next day. It was back down to 10. Like it was just like it was a wild ride to be on, and it was fun. Like it was fun. If you were playing the stock game and you get in, it was fun. But again, you all know what the GameStop stock was. Now, GameStop stock is not down to the low it was prior to that. It's still trading at higher than it was its pre-COVID numbers, but it's not at that top. It's not at 80. It's got a little bit better, but it's buoyed. Now, I say that because Delano Banton is playing great. But if this team is fully healthy, Brenden, let's be completely honest. If Anthony Simons is out there, if DeAndre Ayton's out there, if Jeremy Grant is out there, if Shaden Sharp is out there, if Malcolm Brogdon is out there, Delano Banton is not getting 23 shots a night. Not 23, he's getting 2 to 3, right? His numbers look great because right now he's playing with Chris Murray, not a known offensive player yet. Getting better, but not an offensive commodity. Ryan Rupert, not a great offensive player yet. Getting better. Justin Minaya, not known as an offensive player. Jabari Walker, much improved this year, still not an offensive player. Moses Brown, same thing. Lather, rinse, repeat. Tamani Kamara had a very good game, 17 points, but he's still not a great offensive player yet. To his own admission, he has said that's his weakness and he wants to get better at it. Scoot Henderson has struggled. So someone has to take the lion's share of the shots, right? And Delano Banton, to his credit, says, give me the ball, baby. I'll do it. I'll do it. You ever seen Employee of the Month? Dane Cook. Remember what is it, Andy Dick? Is it his character? He's like, F it, I'll do it. Right? You know what I'm talking about? Like that's Delano Banton. We need someone to take the shots. F it, I'll do it. I got you, coach. He goes out there, he takes 23 shots, gets 31 points. He's playing great. I am not knocking him. I love him. What Delano Banton is doing right now is playing himself into a contract. Next year's contract is a club option. 2.4 mil or something like that. I'll take this production at 2.4 mil all day long at the end of my end of my bench. But if this team, and I said this to you, say this team, Brenden, goes into the next season, and this is before you get your, I know how your brain works. You like to say the what ifs. You hate Jonathan Smith. I get it. But let's just go purely hypothetical for a second. And this team goes into the very first game of the year next year. Nothing has changed with this roster. No one was traded. No one was moved. Everyone's here.
I'd be upset.
Yes, we would. See, I said don't get there. Hypothetical. Things will change, but I can't look into the future and say who's going to be on the roster yet. So let's just look at the roster as is. Okay? Say this team's fully healthy and they decide they want to get their young guards all on the floor at the same time. So they decide to start Ant, Shaden, Scoot, Jeremy, and Ayton. Okay? Say that they don't want to start Shea at the 3. He's coming off the bench. They feel fine. So they put Matisse Thybulle in at small forward, okay? Matisse Thybulle is your starting small forward next year next to Scoot, Ant, Grant, and Ayton. That's your starting 5, okay? That sounds fine. We're all healthy. Things are looking good. I'll take it. So now you got to look at the bench rotation from there. Well, if this team doesn't change, who is your backup point guard in that situation if you're going to start Scoot at the 1? Oh, it's Malcolm Brogdon, okay? Well, if you're starting Ant at the 2, who's your backup shooting guard? It's Shaden Sharp. If you're starting Matisse Thybulle at small forward, who's your backup small forward? He's definitely earned it. It's Tamani Kamara. If Jeremy Grant is your starting power forward, who's your backup power forward? Oh, he's definitely earned it. It's Jabari Walker. If you're starting DeAndre Ayton at center, who's your backup center? Well, assuming this team is fully healthy, it's Robert Williams. So now I've gone through 10 players on your depth chart. Haven't mentioned Delano Banton yet. And then you get into the next territory. Who's the 11th guy off the bench? Well, it depends if you need the versatility or not. But like you said, you did not hesitate. You're like, probably Duop Reith.
I love Duop Reith. Like he is honestly like. Is there a better story in the NBA, Chris?
Not right now.
Like obviously the Blazers were looking for the positives where we can find the positives.
Well, I think the Blazers have had the best story in the NBA now multiple times over the last few years because it goes basically swiped under the rug. People don't talk about it enough. How Drew Eubanks was ready to quit. He was ready to retire and call it a day. Didn't think he belonged in the NBA anymore, and coming to play with his hometown team and getting the opportunity rejuvenated him. And he's still in the league, and he's a pretty good rotation big. In my opinion.
I mean he's a solid backup center. Do you want him playing ton of starters minutes?
No. He's a second string third three.
But yeah, I mean the fact that they signed a Duop, I don't know exactly what it was, Chris, but I think it was something like they converted his deal into like a 3-year deal or something along those lines. So that tells me they're really invested in Duop being the guy behind either DeAndre Ayton, maybe behind Robert Williams. They play him more at the center because, hey, guess what? That other guy who was really important in the Dame, trade and all that is, I know that wasn't exactly the Dame trade, but continuation of moving Giroux and bringing in that. Like, Malcolm Brogdon's solid, but we didn't even get to see the surface of what Robert Williams can do. And I know he's had some injuries. I know that. But you go back and look at a big reason, Chris. We mentioned this series earlier today. A big reason why Boston made it to the finals that year. Robert Williams was giving them clutch minutes in the front court. He was great. He was gritty. He hit his shots. He was versatile, was very tough defensively. So, yeah, I mean, for all those reasons, I always want to see this team healthy.
Yeah. Now, let's say, Brenden, there is an offseason move. Okay, let's go with the logical move, which is Malcolm Brogdon. Okay. And I also let's throw the extra hypothetical out there. Let's say that they are looking to not only offload Brogdon because they gave him a handshake deal or whatever. You know what? You're sitting the rest of the year for us. We're going to get you somewhere you belong. We're going to try to get an asset in return. And they're like, okay, we want to give the keys to the kingdom to Scoot and Shea. So we're going to move off Ant too. Okay. So they're moving off Ant. They're moving off Brogdon. And let's say in doing so, they bring in I don't even know the name, but let's just say in doing so, they bring in a legit starting small forward. Okay. A nice young guy. Maybe Franz Wagner. There's a name that comes to mind. Good starting small forward. I would take that deal. Okay.
PJ Washington, take that dude too.
And say maybe in doing so, they understand they're giving away 2 guards, so they get a rotation guard in return as well. Okay. So now that's all they gave up. They gave up Ant, they gave up Brogdon, kept everybody else. Okay, now you're starting Scoot, you're starting Shea, you're starting your new small forward. Okay. Then you're starting Grant and Ayton because you still have them. So now you look at the bench rotation. Things haven't changed. Who's your backup center? Still Robert Williams. Who's your backup power forward? In this case, still Jabari Walker. Who is your backup small forward? It's still Tamani Kamara. Who's your backup guard? Likely, if he's still there, probably Matisse Thybulle. You've played him a lot as shooting guard this year, not just small forward. So now, unless you traded for one, who's your backup point guard? Well, if you didn't bring one in, now Delano Banton gets some minutes. But at the same time, Brenden, if you have moved off of Ant and given the keys to Scoot, Scoot's playing 30+ minutes per night. So how many minutes is Delano Banton getting in that rotation through the guards? So is there an avenue for him? But he's still in that situation. He's your 9th or 10th guy, right?
Oh, yeah, totally. And that's the thing is, like, I don't want to discredit a guy for going out and being like, hey, I'm going to go prove that I can be in the league. And that's pretty much what Delano Banton's doing. He's like,
without a doubt. Without a doubt.
Yeah, he's like, I don't belong in the G League, right? So, again, like I said before, the efficiency's not the greatest. And I think you kind of, we actually had a caller yesterday come in to Chad and say that he thought that, he offered more promise than Scoot. And
No.
I understand we're like an emotional, Chris, Blazer fans have been put through an emotional washing machine the last 3-4 years. Just the never-ending cycle of just like soap being thrown in your eyes, just being like, oh, I can't watch, kind of a thing. But at the end of the day, it's still, in my opinion, and again, everyone can have their own, foolhardy to say that like Scoot is not better than Delano Banton. Like there's a reason Scoot Henderson was drafted 3rd overall and Delano Banton was not drafted. Or help me out, Chris. Was he drafted? I can't.
By Toronto.
Okay.
And it was the first time Toronto drafted a Canadian-born player, if I do recall. So
interesting. But yeah. So in mid-second round, so not bad. And again, like I said, I just don't think that like people were like, oh, he's going to be the star this team needed. I'm not saying it won't happen, but I'm pretty confident in saying it's like a Lloyd Christmas chance.
Yes,
if
but
you know
I
what
will
I mean.
also.
So you're telling me there's a chance.
But I will
Chris.
also say this. I mean, it's also easy for us to say, yeah, he's on his 3rd team in 3 years, and whatnot. But I think you can also, if your argument is the other way around, is you can also look at Yusuf Nurkic, right? I mean, 2.5 years in Denver. Things weren't clicking. Granted, yes, they had Nikola Jokic, but he was averaging. Nurk was still starting a handful of games, was averaging 8 points. Comes to Portland, Nurk fever hits, and he's been that Nurk ever since. So maybe Delano Banton is that. But Delano Banton still, to me, on a fully healthy roster, even if they make changes, is not taking 23 shots per night.
Yeah, it's actually that is a terrific comparison, Chris, between Nurk and Banton. Only because, to your point, like. Nurk never had more than 17 minutes a game when he was in Denver. Gets to Portland instantly 29 or better almost every year. So I just wonder if that's kind of like what you were saying about Banton. Now it's like he's not only getting minutes, but he's also getting shots. And,
Yeah, but the difference between Banton and Nurk, though, is that Nurk didn't have somebody better than him on the roster at his position.
Oh, yeah, and that's entirely true. And Nurk, self-admittedly, this is nothing new, he was pouty in Denver. Like, he even said, like...
Yep, he wanted to change.
He's like, like, him and Jokic were not it. Maybe, he should, like, who knows? Maybe it's the Bosnia versus the Serbia. Chris got a little European back and forth there going on. But even Jokic wasn't Jokic right away.
No, not at all.
So it's like you think back, like the first couple times Blazers played the Nuggets, Nurkic got the better of Jokic. That's when Nurk fever was born.
Yeah.
It was just even Denver knew, hey, we give this Jokic guy enough time.
I'll tell you this though, Brenden, with Delano, the way he's playing is proving his worth. He is working his way into that club option being picked up, and some people will like to say that we're being, that's just, put some respect on his name. No, that guy, if he is your 10th guy off the bench or your 11th guy, that's the perfect guy that you want in that spot. Because right now, who's the 11th guy off the bench? Justin Minaya, right? And moving forward, who would you rather have, the Ibu Badjis and Justin Minayas as the end of the bench guys, or guys like Delano Banton?
Delano.
If you have a guy like Delano Banton in that spot, then I think maybe you're building your roster to be a little bit more competitive in the way you want it. So we'll see where it goes, Brenden. I'm just not sold yet. There are people sipping the Kool-Aid. He's the leader of this team, and he's this and he's that. And no, how many people fell in love with Trendon Watford? Right?
Myself included. I liked him for a hot minute.
And he deserved it. He played great. He looked good. He's played himself into a roster spot in Brooklyn, but then again, in Brooklyn, how many minutes is he playing? So I think he's playing like 10 per game, averaging like 7 points. He's a good rotational player. I think that's what Delano Banton is.
Let's see, 5 points, 2 rebounds.
There you go. Oh, and everyone. Oh yeah, he needs to be the starter. He's so good.
And again, Justin and I talk about this, Chris. We have to turn off our brain because we sit there and say a guy who can't make it the NBA is quote unquote bad, right? So it's like Justin and I have termed like it's NBA bad, right?
No, yes, absolutely.
Because like Delano Banton could probably go cook everybody on Oregon State and Oregon's roster.
The fact that Delano Banton is wearing a Blazer jersey means he's one of the top 1% basketball players in the entire world.
Yes, and we can't forget that along the way.
When we say that he is bad, we're saying he's relative to that 1%. Nobody's arguing that he's a bad basketball player. Like, that's just stupidity. Like I told you with the you could take UConn and Delano Banton's dropping a 50 piece on UConn, right? That's just the facts of it. Now, I said all that about Delano Banton to say this. I really, really like Delano Banton. I want him in a Blazer jersey moving forward. I just kind of understand where he is on the pecking order. All right, we're going to take a break because we got to get to Mailbag. It's one of my favorite parts of this show, and it's coming up next on Rip City Mornings. Welcome back into Rip City Mornings. Chris Burkhardt here with you, joined as always by Brenden Slaughter, the butcher and the slaughter. And guess what? We get to do it all again tomorrow, too. So if you enjoyed today, get to do it again. If you didn't enjoy it, I apologize. You got to deal with it at least one more time. But Brenden, I don't like to waste time talking because the last segment of the show is always so short, but it's also my favorite. It's time to open up the mailbag.
All right, Chris, firing out the big mailbag here on a Thursday. Let's see. Let's go ahead and go with this. If you could start a band with several of your closest friends, what would the band's name be, and what kind of songs would you sing?
Oh my gosh! First off, it's me, so it'd have to be a metal band. I don't know who would join it with me.
You get Travis Demers on there?
Oh, I could get Travis.
Okay, so that's one.
He and I would battle though, because as a talking head, and he also being a talking head,
You'd be both competing for main vocals.
we would battle for main vocals.
Mm.
Now nobody needs my voice in the morning; it's just here. However, they need his voice to get through a Blazer game. Therefore, he would be backing vocalist, and I would have to be the lead singer of this metal band. Justin, we just bring the whole crew. Like Justin, like I said, I pulled a Justin earlier. I clapped. He likes to bang things. He'd probably bang those drums. He'd probably he snares everything. He'd let it go. Chad's gangly, and you need those long fingers and long arms to go up and down the fretboard. Like he'd be my guitarist. And Godfather, he's kind of grumpy and likes to stay to himself, and that's every single bass player ever. So we got ourselves a band here. You.
I'm the manager.
No, you're back there and pushing buttons. You can be buttons, or we could be a rock band that has a keyboard too. Okay,
A keyboard. I'll synthesize. Yeah.
There you go. But if I had to name that band, I would name my band more like after a song, right? Like, so I love Metallica. So could you find a Metallica song that makes for a good band name? So we could be the Four Horsemen. That's a band name. Creeping Death. That sounds like a band name. A Harvester of Sorrow sounds like a band name. It would have to be something along those lines. But yeah, we're singing metal music. We're having fun.
That's a pretty good one. That's why I said I knew that you'd have to certainly loop Trav in there because I know he likes metal just as much as you do. But yeah, that's good and some good names on top of it. Let's go to another fun question that I think you're gonna have a lot of fun with. Chris, how long would you survive a zombie apocalypse? How long would you survive? How well rationed is the Burkhardt household?
How long would I survive in a zombie apocalypse? The true answer is probably about 25% as long as I think I actually would, right? Because the zombies, they always win. However, I've watched Dawn of the Dead. I've watched The Walking Dead. It would be interesting. It would be tough. I do find what you need to do is I would ration. And then you gotta get like a boat, and you just gotta go out in the middle of the lake. I haven't seen the zombies that can swim yet. All right, you get there. You gotta get yourself, go steal a yacht and just get out into the Pacific Ocean. Maybe go find yourself a nice little uninhabited island or an atoll. Right. So and then I could cruise on over to my next
That's
island.
Genius. That's absolutely genius.
Go get some fruits.
Take a yacht out of Hawaii and just head for like Guam and be like, yeah, there's enough U.S. atolls along the way.
Exactly.
That's genius.
Man. Anchor up outside, ration my food when things start getting low.
Fish.
Yeah.
You just fish, right?
You fish. You don't risk losing the yacht. So you take the dinghy into shore.
The yacht's got solar panels on it. I'm
there
good,
you go.
man.
You
Keep
watch,
the Xbox going.
Yep. You watch where the zombies are. And then you can get through. There is a zoo right there in Waikiki. I mean, I'm not being mean to the animals, but if it's a zombie apocalypse, there's some food right there. Not only the food they feed the animals, but the animals themselves. I'm just saying, okay? Sustenance is a thing.
Hey, you have to start asking those real questions when it's life or death, right? And a zombie apocalypse is definitely a life or death.
Yes. Now, I'm in the middle of the ocean. If I have a yacht, that means I do have working ovens and stuff. Maybe you get on the beach where you can get a fire. There is ways to desalinate the salt water, so you're going to be fine as long as you know what you're doing. You know how to reload a firearm.
Dude, you may have just blown my whole world open because like forever I'm like, okay, got my apocalypse, earthquake supplies in the garage, earthquake water, all that stuff. And I'm like, huh, Chris may have just blown my whole
I,
world open that we can just go out into like a lake somewhere and
yeah.
just like, yeah, cool,
I
right?
mean,
That's kind of cool
I
thing.
know there's a billion people, but there's not a billion boats,
Yeah,
and
that's
people can
smart.
only swim so far.
Yeah.
So you get far enough offshore, you're gonna be fine.
No,
You're gonna be fine. You gotta hit up the atolls though, because like if you're trying to get food back on the ship, you can't like try to take the dinghy and go to L.A. There's too many people.
Ain't
That
yeah.
means A, too many zombies. It also means B, too many survivors.
Who
And
want your
again,
boat?
I've seen The Walking Dead. Until the apocalypse is done, the survivors end up going after one another. So you're not safe. You can't be within shooting distance. So you gotta go. That's why you gotta hit up the atolls, baby.
I'm doing it's genius. All you got to do is, like I said, just point the old boat west and aim for Guam. Apparently,
Yeah. Like I said, I know it's frowned upon culturally now, but again, zombie apocalypse, a shark will offer a lot of meat that you will be able to see. Throw some
this
chum
is
in
saying
the
that
water.
you could actually get the shark though, and the shark doesn't get you.
Hey, you throw some chum in the water, big old fish hook like Maui and Moana, and you're good to go.
The fish hook. Start chumming like Jaws, man.
Yeah.
Oh gosh, classic. All right, let's get to one more here before we close out, Chris. Ooh, this will be fun. What TV show or movie are you embarrassed to admit you love?
I don't know if it's embarrassed, but this is a guilty pleasure of mine.
Sure.
I have watched it in its entirety at least a dozen times. I was watching it yesterday. I will watch all the reruns because I don't know why. I love Kitchen Nightmares. I love Kitchen Nightmares. Gordon Ramsay, Kitchen Nightmares, hook it to my veins. Like
that's a great show.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, I think it's very soft. So why do you think you'd say you're embarrassed to admit that you love that? Just because reality TV?
Because that show came out like a decade ago, and I still watch the reruns. I know I know exactly what he's gonna find. I know exactly how he's gonna fix it, and I know that pretty much every single one of them ended up going out of business. But I still love watching it.
No,
I love Gordon Ramsay.
Yeah, no, it's raw.
Exactly. It's raw, you idiot. You love it. I love it.
Yeah,
it's
so
the
Ramsey,
best.
That's
It's the best.
fantastic.
Also, the British version better than the American version. Money, good stuff. You got to watch it. All right, that does it for the morning show. But guess what? I'll be back tomorrow, right back here from 6 to 9. Burkhardt, Slaughter, the Butcher and the Slaughter coming at you tomorrow. You guys have been awesome. We'll talk to you next time.